Hi, and welcome to Purpose Project. My name is Leslie Pagel, and I cannot wait for you to hear the story that we have to share today. Today, we have an amazing woman on the show. Her name is Janeva Shaw-Mims, and Janeva had me feeling like I could accomplish anything after our conversation. Seriously, anything. She is just one of those people who, when she puts her mind towards something, she puts her energy behind it, and next thing you know, she's out there doing it. And she made me feel like I could be that woman too. I cannot wait for you to be inspired by Janeva like I was. So let's get started. Janeva, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Before we just dig into the topic of purpose, tell us, who is Janeva?
Okay, that question always gets me. But who I am a girl from Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is right on the lake. I am a tiger, so that's what our mascot was. I graduated from Michigan State University, so I'm a Spartan.
All right.
I owe them lots of dollars, so I claim them quite a bit. And I'm a mother, I'm a sister, a daughter, and a really good friend. I'm a doula
Okay.
and a community activist and advocate.
Can you say a little bit more about what a doula is?
Yeah,
just in
for
case
sure.
people aren't familiar.
Yeah, a doula. I'm a full spectrum doula. What a doula is a person who supports you, family, or the birthing person during their journey in their pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So that can be prenatal, during the birth, and after the birth. I'm not a medical professional, but what I do is provide emotional support, education, and advocacy along that journey. So, just to give a practical example, when you're pregnant and you become pregnant, you would reach out to me around 3 or 4 months, and then we would start doing education around what's going to happen during your pregnancy, the stages. If you're having morning sickness, I can provide holistic options and care around that. When you're going to the hospital, helping you choose the best hospital or birthing options. Do you want to birth at home? Do you want to go to the hospital or a birthing center? Some other practical things are comfort measures. So practicing what that looks like, because when you get into labor, you don't just automatically know what to do. And so teaching and showing those things. So childbirth education. A big one that I enjoy the most about being a doula is the birthing experience. And so if you go traditional route to the hospital, typically your nurses are on staff, but they're coming in and out because they have to take care of other people on the floor. And the doctor typically comes in when it's time for you to deliver.
Right.
Your doula stays with you the entire
whole time. Very nice.
So typically, we're not only supporting that birthing person, we're supporting their partner, their family members. And then after the labor, we stay the entire time until you decide first feeding, whether that's breast or bottle. We stay until that first feeding. And then if you want postpartum services, then you're coming to the home to help support the family in that way. So that can be washing dishes, folding clothes, watching the other kids, creating a system, reaching out to your network and making sure that they're bringing food to you. So it can really look like whatever is the best options and support for that family. And then also watching your health. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related or childbirth-related.
3 times?
3 times.
Wow.
3 to 4 times more likely to die compared to white women. Mm-hmm.
That is shocking to me.
We have the highest maternal death rate here in Indiana.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Wow.
So that makes it even more heightened for Black women, and for a Black doula, I support those mothers and recognizing when they're having postpartum concerns, or that's with their body, whether that's with, what if they're having issues with their health, high blood pressure, the signs that they would not recognize, I can help recognize, and some things show up differently based on your demographic. And so being able to identify that and provide resources and a voice in the
Right.
room. Another piece is like the birthing plan, like helping create a birth plan that supports that family on what they want during labor, and then sharing that with the staff
Right.
so that you can help have that conversation and collaborate with staff. So a doula is not like people think that you're like in a battle with
Okay.
staff in the hospital, and
Right.
typically not. Like the
It's
goal
a
is to
partner. It sounds.
the goal is to
Yeah.
go in as a partnership, but also to be an advocate for that family. So if that staff is not doing something that
Right.
is in support of that birthing plan, then my role is to help advocate or help that person advocate for their needs. And
Right.
so you do sometimes have to take a stance, which looks like not in agreement with that staff, but the goal is to go in and I ask the nurses, like, where's all the supplies?
Right.
What do I need to do? What do you need help with? And then I take it from there as much as I
Right.
can.
Wow. Okay, so Geneva is close to family. I heard
Yeah.
a lot of family.
Yeah.
I heard a bit of community, where you're from, your
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
pride in that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a caregiver to
Yeah.
others, like, with your role as a doula.
Yeah, that doula role is a big deal. And then I'm also a person who has experienced grief of a parent, so a loss of a parent. And so that also is who I am. That has defined me. My mother passed in 2016. I'm the oldest of four. So my brother and my two sisters, they're twins. They're fraternal. But when my mom passed, they were 17. They had just graduated high school. And my brother lives in Georgia. And so I was a caregiver for my mother during her transition. And that shaped how I view being the oldest and
Right.
stepping into that role, and how people deal with grief and how we talk about it. And my own grief journey of like going to grief counseling and coming out of that on the other side.
Yeah.
And how I then ended up with a village of people who also lost their mother, and we all just ended up being connected.
Wow.
And then supporting each other through that. And now when I meet people who have lost their parent or their mother recently, like being able to step into that supportive role, mentorship role, if you will,
Yeah.
to help guide them through this is what grief stages of grief look like. We don't talk about those things
Right.
as much as we should.
Yeah.
And so a part of my doula journey as well is I've already started the journey of becoming an end of life doula, which then supports the same way in that birthday experience, but the end of life, like
Right.
helping families through that transition.
Yeah.
And that may look like some non-traditional things, like having services differently, or ceremonies, or different ways that you can support children based on their age when they're going through some type of grief, because
Right.
everyone's how they're receiving it and experiencing it is different.
Right. Right.
And so a doula can be any kind of doula.
Okay.
So
Okay.
full spectrum. I can support families through adoption, fertility,
Wow.
miscarriage, birth, and end of life.
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah, super cool stuff.
An amazing woman
Thank
is what I'm
you.
hearing as well.
Thank you so much.
So let's get into the topic of life's purpose.
Yeah, that is like when people talk about purpose, don't you feel like it can get overwhelming?
Yeah.
Like you get into your head about it. Like, what is my purpose? Am I doing the right things? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And it can become daunting. Like, you always hear about it. It's always the thing to do. But I will be 40 in September, and I realized that my purpose lies in all the things that we kind of talked about, like who I am. And so I tend to lean towards my purpose being around whatever my passions are. And so that can flow across
Right.
various different things. But the common theme is advocacy.
Okay.
That's what I found. Like the common theme among all of them are that I am finding ways to create pathways for others, or finding ways to provide resources, finding ways to uplift people and give them what they may be missing. I have an eye for seeing a complex problem, and then where is the gap and what do you need right there, or connecting you to the right person,
Right.
or the right resource to get there. So I think and some of that is like skills that are not hard skills. Like I don't know how to do hair. I don't know how to sing. And I used to think those were the things that make you cool or give you purpose, or things people actually can experience. On the other end of that, people do experience my support, my help,
Absolutely,
and my impact in their lives. And so I think my purpose, what I've landed at, is that my purpose is to provide those resources to people that don't have them. That's what fills me up when I see a change, or that person come out on the other side.
Right.
It's like something I actually can,
Right.
that I can see, and that's practical, like
Right.
something you actually need. And so I used to think, no big deal. I'm just helping people. I also have learned along the way, some people don't like helping other people. It's work. It's work to help others. It can be exhausting.
Yes.
A doula, that is, you are on call the last, like 2 weeks of that person's pregnancy, because they can go into labor at any time. And you're there the entire time. So your job is to keep them motivated during that birth, or in making sure that they have the things that they need. And it can be tiring, but that's your job. That's your purpose at that moment. So I realized that after going through those experiences with the families that I've supported, and hearing back from them that I wouldn't have been able to do that without you.
Yes.
I don't know how my birth would have turned out if you weren't there, or things like that. It's like, okay, that fills me up. And so then that becomes my purpose.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, so I hear your purpose is to be an advocate for people in need, which suggests that you're also one that's looking for when people are in need and recognizing that.
Yeah.
And then you're there for them. And you're a connector to help them get what they need, or an ear, a shoulder for them to lean on, whatever it is.
Yeah. Shameless plug to National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Indianapolis chapter. I am in that organization. I joined last year, and that is an opportunity that I seek to help support people in my community. And so that is a nonprofit that focuses on supporting Black girls and Black women, and through free programming. So everything we do is free for the community. And those programs stem around economics, education, mental health, public policy. I think I'm missing a couple. It's a lot. But it covers the board. And our job is to advocate. So it's not community service. We're doing advocacy through change. So through programming, through partnering with other community partners. What I'm on public policy committee now, we are driving the Go Vote campaign and supporting those different efforts of we're not telling you who to vote for, but telling you to get out and vote. Your vote matters, and educating youth about voting and the process of the system, and how do you vote and why do you vote. And so I found that I do seek out opportunities where I can be in the community that impacts me, and find where are the gaps, again, where are the problem. There are problems with housing disparity here in Indiana. Like we have, I don't know the number, but we are on the high end of evictions, where families get put out for them, which then what leads to homelessness, and then leads to people not being able to get a job, and then it creates this vicious cycle of not being able to be stable, and that always impacts Black and brown people the most. And so my goal is to step into those spaces and learn what the problem is, and then how do I fill the gap? Who do I connect you to? What type of programming or education can I provide to you, along with these other beautiful, successful, and smart women that are creating these programs?
Oh, we will drop a link to the site in the show notes as well, for those that are interested in learning more.
Yeah, that would be perfect. And sponsoring us.
Yes, and sponsoring.
Shameless plug again.
So you mentioned earlier, Geneva, that you have found as you've thought about life's purpose that it evolves with your passions and your interests and things like that. But now you've identified this kind of advocacy as a purpose of yours. How did that come about? Was there a defining moment in your life, or how did you acknowledge that this is the purpose?
So many defining moments in my life. Like I always reflect back on how did I get to where I am today? The things that I've been through, some people don't come out on the other side of that. Some, we live in a world that's hard, and it's hard on us. It's hard on women, and it's harder on you if you come from a community socioeconomic status and low income, and that's how I grew up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have more barriers against you. And so I think three things that all kind of wrap into what I do today is how I advocate and why I have such a passion for my community, for people, and why I step into those spaces is because, one, as a child, I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and so I survived that, and I got to college, which other people don't get to do. So I went to a Big Ten, and during that time at school, I became pregnant. I was 19, my third year of college, and everybody thought I was going to drop out. It's like, well, it's hard, right? Like, you stay at school with this baby. And I did not. I had a lot of supports around me, a lot of people who wanted to see me win. And so that helped me realize that I'm bigger than what I'm seeing. It's bigger than that. I have a bigger purpose. I need to follow through and continue to go to school. I'm supposed to be here. And so during that time, with me being pregnant and also being a survivor of sexual abuse, a lot of things come up when you become pregnant. Like you go into this space of, I'm about to be a mother. I need to get things in order. I'm about to be a parent. I'm bringing a life into the world. And that's what shifted me to go into counseling. And so that was the first time that I actually went into therapy. And during that time, I learned coping skills, and I learned resources, and I recognized triggers and all the kind of things people like we talk about. I actually learned it. Them. My therapist was big on self-reflection, self-awareness. She was about 75. She was an older person. And so a mentor up here, wise. And so she was very much about teaching me about every cycle and every trigger. And she wanted me to read. And so the more I learned, the more I thought, man, this is like life changing. This brings you out on the other side of despair when you thought you couldn't see a light. And so that was like my first introduction into like mental health, how all of the things you go through impact your decision making and why you think the way you do, or why you may make that decision that you shouldn't have made, and how it impacts your brain chemistry and all trauma and all that stuff. And so that's when I learned that, and that's when I became passionate about how do I advocate for the voiceless or people who don't know those things. So I became a case manager, worked with children, families. I worked for DCS. I worked for, Child Protective Services, if you don't know what that is. I worked for Child Protective Services. I worked in corrections. I worked at mental health facilities. And so touching all of those different facets, I learned so much more about people, but also learned so much more about gaps and problems. So that kind of gave me my early life in my 20s. And then the second part to that is I was a doula before I was a doula. So, your friends and family, your cousins, sisters, they all have babies, and you go in the room with them and you support them. We all do that. There's some part of you that has either came over and held the baby while mom gets sleep. That you're a doula. Now. Like you are supporting that person during their time of need. I had a really close friend of mine who almost died after childbirth due to the doctors not recognizing that she had HELLP syndrome, which is like a disease that impacts your liver when you're pregnant.
Wow.
And they did not listen to her. She had all the symptom signs of
gosh.
telling them she was having headaches during her pregnancy. She had a lot of trauma after the pregnancy, a lot of blood loss. And when that happened, there were some other incidents. I had my own issues when I gave birth to my oldest, and cousins and sisters, and like the way people show up in the room,
Right.
and don't listen to you when you're telling them what's wrong with
Right.
you. So I've experienced those things, but this was different.
Right.
Watching someone go through that and almost lose their life when they're just trying to have a baby.
Oh my gosh.
That changed my life. So that was another reason that kind of made me say, what can I do about this? And then
Right.
I learned about being a doula. Okay, so that was the second piece. And then the third thing is my grief journey. Losing my mother also opened up that space of that's a community of people who are grieving and don't necessarily know how to deal with it,
Right.
or have not. We just like, oh, get over it. Or
Right.
it's a part of life, but it's a trauma.
Yeah.
And so those were, I think, three big things
Right.
that shape the way that I interact with people, the way that I support people, the way that I advocate, the way that I provide education and messaging behind the things that I'm compassionate
Right.
about.
Yes. So I heard very clear moments that helped shape you. But what I also heard very loud was the movement into action.
Yeah.
You went to action, which I'm curious because I think some people might know what they're meant to do, but don't go for it. What do you think it is about you that puts you into action instead of sitting on the sidelines?
You know what? I think I'm a lifelong learner.
Okay.
I got my master's degree, and I don't even know why. Like, I just wanted to learn some new stuff.
Right.
Like, part of it was like, I just wanted to learn some new things. So I started off getting my master's in HR management, and I decided that was boring. And so then I went back. I took a break. And during that time, my mom was sick too. So I stopped going to school. And then when I went back to school, I said, I'm going to do something I just want to learn about.
Right.
And it was about leadership and organizational leadership and management. And those are things that I'm passionate about, right? Leadership and leaders, and everything that I'm doing today, it takes leadership skills.
Right.
And so I wanted to learn that. And so I think a part of it is like, one, what are you passionate about? It doesn't have to be something that's going to change the world tomorrow.
Right.
It can be that I'm passionate about learning
Right.
about flowers.
Right.
And then I'm going to go learn about flowers. And then I'm going to go get some flowers and practice taking care of them.
Right.
Because I learned these things about how to take care of flowers.
Right.
And it's like, try it. And if you are scared, don't tell anybody. Just try it by yourself.
Right.
See
There
how it
you
goes.
go.
Yeah, just try it out. Just try it. Try it. Like, what's the saying? That's like, do it scared. Do it even though you're scared. Because
I love that.
Yeah.
Do it even though you're scared.
yeah,
Yes.
just do it anyway. Because here's back to the journey of grief. My mother passed away at 58, which is young.
Right.
And it was unexpected. She was not sick. She got sick. And all of this kind of took a spiral in about
Wow.
a 3 to 4 month span.
Uh-huh.
And so with that happening, my mother, two things. She was a fun person, lively and smart, but she worked jobs like kind of like in corporate, like kind of like work jobs that she really didn't like, but she had kids.
Yeah.
When she got a little older, though, my sisters got older, she transitioned into being a seamstress. She has always made her own clothes since a little girl. She would make Barbie clothes.
Yeah.
And so she always told us about that. She was always good with her hands. So she was, her passion was sewing.
Okay.
Her passion was knitting, quilting. She could make something from scratch, like a suit. And so that was her passion. And so when my sisters got older, she transitioned into that, doing that at a bridal shop.
Okay.
And then she learned a lot of skills. And they paid for her to take some courses, and she learned some more stuff. And then she went into business for herself. And that was the happiest that I had saw my mom. Like, now, granted, she wasn't making as much money as she was, but she was doing the thing
what she loved.
She was doing what she loved, and that was the happiest I saw her. The second piece to that is when my mother did get sick, she shared with me she wished she would have did it earlier.
Oh.
The other thing that she said was that there was a lot of things that she didn't do out of fear, scared what people would think about her, or scared that she would fail, or scared that, it wouldn't work out the way she thought it would, but I wish I would have tried. And so what I took from that was that she did hold some regrets. And what she shared with me was that she didn't want us to do that. And so today, I really try to practice living on purpose. And so I say that a lot to my kids now, like, live on purpose, like, live it out, see what happens. You can fail, you can mess it up, because you can just fix it. And if you don't fail or make the mistake, you didn't learn anything.
Exactly.
And so it's hard, though, to do that. It's hard to tell yourself that when you have people depending on you, or you don't have the time. You have all these thoughts around fear. And so I get it, because I've been in that place before.
Yeah.
But I do think when you at least try, so one step towards a goal every day is the other thing that I try to do. Like, if I just do one thing towards that big goal
every day,
one thing.
Wow.
Just one step.
What would be an example of, like, a thing?
So I would give an example of when I wanted to be a doula. I started with, like, okay, what is a doula? Like, so the first thing was research. Like, once I did a rabbit hole of that, the second thing is, like, are there any doulas that I could talk to?
Right.
So, like, reach out to that person and meet them. And then it's like, do an interview with them. Ask them, can you tag along? And another thing is, like, okay, you got to do the business part. And that was the hard part for me. Like, I did not want to do that. Like, I want to do the LLC and all those things. So that was a piece that I had to, like, one thing every day. I got to think of a name. Brain dump a bunch of names down. Then the next day I was like sending it to my friends, like, what y'all think about this? And then after we picked the name, now I got to do a logo. Well, does the name and the logo go together? Why did you pick, a peacock and, whatever?
Right.
And so I think it's like, you break it down into steps so it's not so big. You break it down into pieces so it's not so big. And once you get in that path and you get in there, how are you going to, you have to do it to see if you like it or not. Because you might think you like, and then you don't.
And then you don't. Yeah.
And then you don't. But you took so long trying it.
Yeah.
Now you don't know.
So how long did that process take you?
I would say for being a doula, the education, the business, like the business part, I think took me longer. Like the education, I was all about, like, learning all the stuff. That was fast. But when it was time to, like, take the test to get certified and I was dragging it. Dragging it. And so I would say that probably took me like 8 months to do.
8 months? That's not long.
Yeah, but it could have been done quicker.
Yeah.
Like I had, so I had my logo and I had my business name.
Right.
But I didn't do the registering. I didn't, like, I don't know. Some of it is like anxiety of, like, you know how you have a list of things to do? And you just look at the list.
Right.
It's like, I don't know where to start.
Well, and I imagine some of it was things that you didn't know how to do.
I didn't know how to do.
Which is scary. And then it's like, am I going to do the right thing?
Am I going to do it right? It's a business. It's official. What I did do in those moments, though, was I reached out to other people who had did it before. And so that gave me some confidence. I'm like, oh, okay. Or they told me how they messed it up and, like, oh, don't do it like this because it'll take longer, or whatever it was. And so another piece to finding your purpose, I think, is connecting with people that are already doing that thing that you think you're interested in, like that mentorship, that sponsorship, getting connected to those people or that community. And then most people, I tell this to my teens, like, most people want to mentor you. Most people are willing to reach out their hand and pull you into the room or connect you to somebody else. You just have to ask. If you don't ask,
it's going to be a no.
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, it's a no.
Yeah, that is perfect. Yeah, it's a no now, regardless, by default, because you didn't even ask. And if they say no, it's okay, because it's like 50 more people that you can ask the same question to.
So I heard one step every day.
One step every
do
day.
it scared. Do it even if
yeah,
you're
do
scared.
even if you're scared.
And keep at it and connect with other people who are already doing. Look for mentors, and in 8 months you could change.
You could change your trajectory.
Yeah.
Probably in less than that, honestly.
But 8 months isn't very long if you think about, coming into a new year, thinking about what do I want to do this year?
Yeah.
And, if you're doing something every day towards that goal, and you're connecting with people and learning from them along the way, doing it even if you're scared.
There's so many people doing cool things that want to probably see you do cool things.
Yeah. So when you're out there living your purpose, how does that make you feel?
Happy, empowered. I think that's a good word. Like empowered, because it's like, again, I'm not going to change the world, but I'm impacting somebody's life. I'm impacting someone, and that impact will then impact somebody else.
Right.
Similar to when you think about, like, it takes a village, or when we're thinking through breaking generational curses and things like that, it's like I'm learning something so that my daughter doesn't have to learn it.
Yeah.
And then when I teach that to her, I've provided her some privilege that I didn't have before.
Exactly.
And so when you figure out your purpose, or that person you're connected with knows their purpose, they're helping you identify your purpose. And so we are all helping each other get there. And so we have to, be open to that. Don't shut down the possibility that you're not going to figure it out in one day. It's a journey of, again, trying new things. What is your passion? What makes you feel good? What empowers you? What drives you to get up every day? Like something that you could do for free, I guess. I hear people say that too. Like, I could sit around and talk about being a doula and supporting and ideas and brainstorm all day about that, and like how we could create programming for new parents and stuff like that. And no one would have to pay me. I would be happy doing that because I would be helping a family do a better job than maybe I did when I was learning how to be a parent. Yeah. And it also can make you tired. It can make you tired.
Right.
So you have to take care of yourself. You have to be aware that, like, when it's time for you to take a rest, because you're pouring, if you are living in your purpose, typically you're pouring into someone else. You're not just pouring into yourself. You're pouring into others. Yeah. And so making sure that you take care of yourself and you're doing the things for you so you can continue to live in the purpose. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do think some people pursuing their purpose they go, 360 or whatever, and just go. And they don't always know or take the time to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But that's important for the longevity of your purpose.
Yes. You have to take care of yourself, and you are no good to anybody if you are not taking care of yourself. So your first purpose really in life is to take care of yourself. Yeah. That is your first purpose. Then your second purpose is what those passions are. Right. And cultivating those passions and helping them grow, and then it turns into your purpose. So I think that's like how I got here, is like, what am I passionate about? And those things that you get passionate about, it can come from like some of the things I shared are painful. They're hard. Right. They're not always joyful, but they turn into your purpose. They turn into the things that define you, that shape you, and help you be a testimony or help you be like a lesson for someone else. Yeah. And so those things can be hard about purpose, but if you do it and you believe in it and you're true to it, then you'll come out on the other side. Yeah. Like you will still feel fulfilled at the end of it.
Right. Love it. People are watching us.
and they might be at different stages in finding their purpose or realizing it. What advice do you have for someone out there who's just like, I don't know. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know how to get started.
Yeah, I did not know for a long time. Like, I'm talking about it today from a place of growth, like, and other people helping me see my purpose, other people helping me recognize some of the ways that I have helped them or impacted them. And that's what helped me say, like, oh, that's my, like, that is my purpose. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing. And again, it doesn't have to be one thing. So I would say, don't be so hard on yourself to come up with something that's a define, like, it defines you.
Right.
Think about what drives your passions. So what keeps you up at night? You're thinking about it. Your purpose might be your kids, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be.
Yep.
Because that is another one of my purposes. Like, my purpose is to
care for your
care
family,
for my family and help them grow.
It's actually one of the more common ones that I've heard, not on the podcast, but when I've just been talking with people, is my purpose right now with where I'm at in life is to care for my kids.
To care for my kids. And so it could be, your purpose could be, so for a while, when I talked about my grief journey, if we kind of look back on it, I defined 3 different things that defined my purposes, but those were, at that time when my mother was sick, everything went on hold. I quit my job.
Yeah.
I sent my oldest daughter to her dad for the summer, and I took care of my mother, and that was my purpose at that time.
Right.
I loved my daughter. I visited her on the weekends, and I visited her throughout the week, and I still spent time with her, but I was not being her full-on parent at that moment because I was taking care of my mom.
Yeah.
And so that can look like that for you.
Right.
My purpose today is, if you are like, I really want to go back to school, that could be your purpose.
Right.
One step at a time.
Right.
You fill out your research. What major do you want to do? What schools? What's the cost? What's the scholarships? Look at all the things. Connect with people who have done that degree. Apply. Fill out your FAFSA. So, like, all of that, like, that journey could be some months or some weeks or whatever. Right. But that's an example of, like, that might be your purpose at the time because that's your interest or that's your passion. Like, I really want to get my high school diploma, and it took so long to do it. I don't know if I can, but that is something that's nagging at you, is keeping you up at night. That's your purpose.
Yep. I love it. Think about what's keeping you up at night. What's in the back of your head? What is just like talking to you?
It's talking to you.
And then go do a thing.
Go do a thing.
One thing every day.
One thing every day. And then that purpose, so now I'm giving this example. I'm a 33-year-old person who now I got my high school diploma as an adult learner, and I went off and did this. Now your purpose is to go back and share with others. Like, you can go get your diploma too. I did it. This is how I did it. And now you are fulfilling this purpose of teaching, mentoring, giving back. And that person now has you to help them fulfill their next. Yeah. Right. So it's like we are here to do that for each other if we think about it like that.
Absolutely. Love that. Is there anything else on the topic of purpose that we haven't talked about that's important to speak to?
I just encourage all of you to be gentle with yourself, be gentle, be kind. Give yourself grace as you're going through that journey of figuring it out. And once you're figuring it out, don't pressure yourself to have all the answers, because it's really a journey. And my purpose today of being an advocate and helping families and empowering others, that may not look the same next year for me.
Right. Yeah. Love it. Be kind to yourself. It's a process. It changes and evolves as we go.
It changes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on
Thank
Purpose
you.
Project
This
and
is
for sharing
so
your
cool.
story and your wisdom with all of us.
Thank you. This is a very cool project. It is. It makes you think. It makes you want to start thinking more about like what else can I be doing with my purpose. And so this was a cool
Yes,
conversation.
good. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Janeva, for being on the show. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. I hope that you're feeling as inspired as I am hearing from Janeva. There are two things that really stood out for me in this conversation. The first is how sometimes our life's purpose comes to us in moments of our life. And sometimes those moments aren't moments of joy. I found myself reflecting on Janeva's story about how she left her job to take care of her mother when her mother was sick, and how in that time of her life, that was her sole purpose, to care for her mother. And sometimes our life's purpose isn't glamorous. It's not big, broad impact, save the world. Sometimes our life's purpose shows up as responsibility for people in our lives. And that was one of the things that just struck me in this conversation. The other is go do it, even if you're scared. Just go do it. I really felt the energy from that. I felt like, yes, I can do it, even though I'm scared. I love that. And so thank you all for tuning in. Go do it. Go pursue your life's purpose. Even if you're scared, just go do it. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.